I'm sitting here with just this horrible realization. I've been divorced for 3 years, and in that 3 years, I have spent most of my days figuring out how I can become physically, mentally, financially, spiritually healthy enough to be able to afford and take care of a child. And not only have I taken that time, but I've done the math, and it does not work out. I am not young enough, or fertile enough, or financially stable enough to even do another round of IVF.
In your mid-30s, you know that said divorce directly played into your ability to have children. Where are you guys?
Welcome back, family. Today's story begins 3 years after a divorce, when she stopped looking at the past emotionally and started looking at it practically. As she reflected on her future, she found herself weighing the realities of time, family, finances, and the life she wanted to build. What makes this story stand out is what she had already left behind before the divorce. According to the story, she and her former husband had already taken important steps towards starting a family together, but she chose to end the marriage and move in a different direction. 3 years later, after focusing on herself and rebuilding her life, she found herself asking a very different set of questions. Let's see where that realization leads next.
This horrible realization. I've been divorced for 3 years, and in that 3 years, I have spent most of my days figuring out how I can become physically, mentally, financially, spiritually healthy enough to be able to afford and take care of a child. And not only have I taken that time, but I've done the math, and it does not work out. I am not young enough, or fertile enough, or financially stable enough to even do another round of IVF, and at 36, like, I'm sorry, like, you're gonna say, like, you have time, like, I don't. Because I can't spend another minute of my life trying to make something work when I'm just fighting upstream. I don't have a support system. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources or the community. And it just kills me. It kills me that I had embryos with my ex-husband that were viable, and they're just gone now. And my future with those children and my life as a mother is just, it's gone. And it's not just that it's gone, it's the fact that it was decided for me by so many other people and factors. And that's what kills me, because it was not my choice. And I'm angry. And I'm heartbroken.
He points to one detail that he believes changes the entire story. According to the timeline he describes, they already had embryos stored before the marriage ended. Even so, she chose to file for divorce and begin a different chapter of her life. Now, as she reflects on how things unfolded, he questions whether later circumstances made the decision for her, or whether the decision had already been made long before. From his perspective, that's the contradiction at the center of the story. And it's the point he wants viewers to think about before watching what comes next.
Part of my divorce, and I don't know if this is the case for other people, but for me, the hardest part is feeling like I am perpetually in an alternate timeline. You know how there's that theory that, like, there are just, like, endless timelines, like, endless universes depending on, you know, what choices are made. I just feel like the moment I stepped into the marriage counselor's office and my ex-husband started acting like a completely different human being, that I just, like, I accidentally, like, fell into an alternate timeline. And it feels like that because I never pictured a future or a reality where I wasn't going to be with my ex-husband and the community and family that we had. And I just find myself, like, over and over experiencing these moments of, like, just, it's not supposed to be this way. Or, like, I feel like I'm in the wrong timeline. I had a moment this morning where I was emptying the dishwasher and just putting dishes away, and I just broke down thinking, like, this isn't supposed to be my silverware. This is not supposed to be my plates. This isn't supposed to be my kitchen. All of this is wrong. How did I end up here? And I'm trying so hard to find the good parts of this new reality or dimension that I'm in. And I am finding them in pieces, but the loss and the pain and the confusion of what I thought my life was. And the weirdest part is, like, I don't even want to quantum leap back to my old life. It's just I can't figure out how to make the new timeline feel right.
One of the moments that stayed with her wasn't a major event. It was something surprisingly ordinary. She described breaking down while doing a routine task around the house, and that simple moment seemed to capture everything she had been carrying emotionally. Sometimes it's not the biggest milestones that bring emotions to the surface. It's the everyday routines that suddenly remind someone how much their life has changed. In stories like this, even the smallest moments can reveal how deeply a major life decision continues to affect someone long after it's been made.
If anyone else has had the experience where their therapist tells them that they love them regularly, tells them that you're like an adopted daughter, tells you like you look really tense, like, I never say this to other clients, or I never do that for other people. Have you ever had that happen? And then had that happen, and then a lot of gifts start coming in the mail. And then it leads to getting flowers on Christmas Eve. And you've told your therapist how these things make you uncomfortable and directly hinder your progress because they are very triggering things and confusing things to get these types of signals from a professional who I don't even know how I'm being billed by. And I didn't question these things because when I first came to my therapist, I was in a really rough spot and desperate for something, some help. And I went to a trauma recovery clinic, and the first couple of weeks were okay. And then my therapist left the country for a month, and all of us found out that day, like the day that he was leaving, that he was going to be gone for a month. 5 women, including myself, left the program at the same time because of that, and routinely being triggered by the professionals who were supposed to help us. But I continued working with that therapist because he was the one good part of the program and the only person that I felt any semblance of safety with, because I don't have that with anyone else in my life. And now I have to fire him. And I feel so...
He argues that the biggest realization didn't come immediately after the divorce. It came years later. By then, life had already moved forward, and many of the decisions that shaped her future had already been made. Looking back, he believes the difficult questions weren't created by time itself. They were the result of choices that had been set in motion long before. That's why he sees this as more than a story about regret from his perspective. It's about discovering that some decisions become much harder to change once enough time has passed. The question he leaves viewers with is simple. Was she hoping the outcome would look different? Or was reality simply catching up with expectations?
Third wedding anniversary. And normally when people have an anniversary or they're thinking about someone that they've spent so many years with and love, they have lots of things to say, lots of photos to share, lots of gross I love yous. And this is what my father... I was joking about how feelingless that was. Until I checked my mother's Facebook and realized that she blocked me. And I should not be shocked by this because the last time she spoke to me was on Christmas Eve, which was after an argument when I finally opened up to her that the reason I'm so hurt by her actions at that time and throughout the years is because I have never felt unconditional love from her or my father, and that I didn't really want to keep going anymore. And her response was to hand me the phone 24 hours after this conversation happened, to hand me the phone and tell me to call a hotline or a therapist, and then left the room. I told her to come back in the room to have an adult conversation with me and to share with her that what she had just done was the most dangerous thing you could do to someone who is struggling with their mental health. So for their 43rd anniversary, I'm going to celebrate by not celebrating and coming clean about the second most difficult part of my divorce, which has been a time. She went to grad school. My father refused to finish college. He did not get a full-time job, so he never had a 401k. He never brought in health insurance. My mother was the one who did all of that, and she wasn't able to do it on one income, so her family contributed financially instead of my father. Now, my mother went back to work while my father took care of me while I was an infant, and when my mother fell ill a few years later, my father ended up taking on the caretaker role, so, it's not like he was 100% incompetent or incapable, but there were issues, and I internalized those, and I heard conversations about them, and I developed beliefs around this. One of the most fundamental things that I learned was that you need to ensure that the man is comfortable emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, at all costs, including your own well-being. I also learned that you're supposed to go to therapy of suppressing your basic needs so that the man's needs can be met and you can live copacetically. Taught me that I would never get to keep a man if I didn't put out. She would give me tips on how to boost my father's ego when it was clear that he needed it.
And so I just really developed these fundamental beliefs that my survival was dependent on making sure that the man was always okay. And I have a slew of failed relationships.
As the conversation continues, she begins looking back at the advice her mother gave her over the years. Her mother built a marriage that lasted decades while her own path led in a very different direction. That contrast becomes one of the biggest themes in the story. He argues that the difference wasn't a lack of guidance. It was the choices made along the way and the priorities that shaped those decisions. Whether you agree or disagree, the story leaves viewers with an important question. Was the advice itself flawed, or did the outcome come from choosing a different path? Life keeps moving whether we're ready or not. Some opportunities don't wait forever, and some decisions become much harder to reverse with time. Let me know what you think in the comments.